Hey, good morning. How's it going, everybody? Good morning, YouTube. So, kind of funny is I started doing lives a couple years ago, and I would do them on Facebook. And I would always start it with, "Hey, how's it going, Facebook?" and it's one of the most obnoxious things, but it was kind of my attempt to try to be like, "Good morning, Vietnam." I don't know if anybody gets that reference. It's a it's a movie from the '90s. Uh, Drawing a blank on the guy's name who did it anyway. Robin Williams. So that was my attempt. That's my attempt at it. So sorry if that's annoying to you guys. That's just something I always found was funny. And big part of the reason why I do this show is because it's what I find funny, what I find interesting. Um, don't care much about all the other stuff, but anyway. Um, Tell you what, it's been kind of a rough week. Was a been an interesting weekend so far. Um, I'm going to talk about the show. The show has actually been accepted fully into the YouTube Partner Program, and I'll get into that in a minute because I know there's a lot of people that have questions about that and how that works and what happens there. But uh, the fuck, God, I got hair in my mouth somehow. Um, anyway, so yesterday I've had this project planned out for a while. Is I had a patio built on the back of my house, and I wanted to put curtains on there because the back side of my house faces south, and the sun kind of comes up um, from obviously from the south, more or less the southeast, um, and it shines directly into my door in my bedroom. And so I put this patio up and it helped block a lot out. But when I'm sitting on the patio, tremendous amount of sun comes out there. So ended up putting up I bought these curtains, these large curtains. I bought them off Amazon. They're shade, sun blocking curtains. And I put these things up yesterday and I made all the hardware. I had all the cable. I made the cable, ran everything, made the shackles, had all that hardware, put it all together. It wasn't like I went out and bought a rod, like a curtain rod, or I bought like hooks and all their stuff. No, I actually made everything so it lasts outside. I used big eye bolts for the tiebacks. Those go on the walls. I have carabiners. I cut cable, coated cable to a specific length, put shackles on those, attach those around everything. Ran the cables up top, have hooks up top, put eye bolts up top. Ran everything. But yesterday, you guys see this right here. Um, Kind of tender right now, actually. Uh, I was I was working my on the back patio, and I had one of these cables that I had cut to do a tie back for these curtains, and I've got to put these shackles on them. And what it is you take the cable and you double it back on each other and on itself, and you feed it through this like pinching thing, more or less. And on the bottom, it's a U-bolt. On the bottom, there's two nuts on there. And you have to tighten these little nuts down, and it clamps down on top of this cable so it holds that cable really tight. Well, I was using my drill with a nut attachment on it, and I'm holding it and I'm driving it on there and I'm tightening these things up because you want to get them really, really tight so it holds. So I'm holding it, and the other end, on the end of the cable, is what's called a turnbuckle. I put these turnbuckles all the way at the very top. So that way, when the cable for the curtains is up at the top, when there's some slack in it, I can turn these things and it draws the cable out. Again, kind of nerdy shit right there. But anyway, I got fucking hair in my fucking mouth. I don't know what the hell that's about, but anyway, if there's not one thing going wrong, it's another. Lights are looking good, camera's good, all this other shit. But that's why it's managed chaos, because I got a fucking hair in my mouth. Anyway, um, I'm tightening the nut down on the bottom of this shackle, and the cable slips out of my hand. It's got this turnbuckle on it. It's about 6 inches long. Got a turnbuckle on it, and the cable slips out of my hand, and the turnbuckle spins around because the drill, but it spins around and fucking comes straight up and pops me straight in the forehead. Um, didn't really hurt, and I didn't know what. I mean, I knew what happened, but I didn't know I was bleeding right away because I was outside, I was working, I was sweating, and I went to go wipe what I thought was sweat off my forehead, running down in my eyes. It was blood. That's a I'd fucking split my forehead open. Um, but that's not the first time, and that's all. And the reason it split open so easy is most of this is all scar tissue. All this area right here. I've split my head open multiple times throughout my life, so it splits open really easily. So yeah, I had just fucking blood everywhere. I thought that was, but it brought back memories of the fact that um, my father. Every time my father would get working, go work in the yard, do something, he would fucking hurt himself. He would do. We had a cabin up in Arizona, and he was it's like he's raking the fucking forest. It's like you're it's a cabin right next to a state park. Um, we own the land that butted up to the state park, and he he's out there fucking raking. That's just what he does. He would go out there and rake the goddamn forest. And he had a barrel out there, and he was throwing all the pine needles and leaves and stuff inside the barrel, and he was burning it all. And he wasn't paying attention, and he set the fire inside this barrel, and it was right next to the propane tank for the house. And he's just not paying attention. And he has to walk right over there, and he has to grab the fucking barrel with his bare hands, and he goes to move it. And so burnt fuck out of his hands. And there's another time where um he had a bee on his face. He was outside working in the yard, had a bee on his face, and he went to slap the bee off, and he fucking hit he he slapped his own goddamn face so fucking hard, he knocked his glasses off and knocked the lens out of his glasses. He did that. There was another time about 2 years ago, I was doing some work in my wood shop, and I had a whole bunch of scraps, and he wanted to take it up to the ranch, and he wanted to throw it in the burn pile. We had loaded the material in the truck. This was I had ripped the sides of the long side off of a bunch of 2x4s. I was making Jenga sets, Jenga pieces, and so I ripped all the rounded edges off of there. And there's probably like 500 strips of wood in the bed of his truck. He gets out of his truck, not paying attention, walks around the back end of the truck, and runs straight fucking into these pieces of wood, and splits open his fucking head. So just made me think about that yesterday. So it's like, because I do it all the time, and maybe it's just a guy thing. Um, we as guys, we look at stuff and we're like, we're a little more risk averse, and we're a little more willing to say, yeah, I can do that. I'll figure it out. It's no big deal. I'll figure it out. I guess women aren't so much like that. Um, so men typically, I guess, some of the act just basically through the activities that we perform, we do that a lot. I mean, I don't remember my mom. Um, you know, I mean, she might have burned herself in the kitchen from time to time, but it's not like she was outside smacking herself in the fucking head with sticks and shit. But anyway, um, so big thing happened this week is the show. Actually, two big things happened this week. Number one, very first thing that happened this week is, and I've talked about this in the past, was that I had a show. It was the 14th episode that I did on here. It was just me sitting in a chair, talking to the camera, kind of giving my thoughts on government's role in the pandemic, how things were happening. I gave a breakdown on how the Emergency Powers Act works, and how different parts of government have been utilizing that, and that it's coming to an end, and so on and so forth, and blah blah blah. Well, in that show, I quoted the CEO of Pfizer, where he said that the vaccine doesn't seem to be effective against Omicron. I quoted him, and the show ended up being taken down for medical misinformation. I got a actually my show hadn't yet been there'd been no talk about the partner program. I'd received no notification that I was going to be accepted into it. And so my show received a community violations warning. I didn't actually receive a strike. I received a community violations or community standards violation warning, which meant as every time I went on to the YouTube studios, I saw this big banner right up top. It says, you have a warning. And they did that for that one show. They took that show down completely. Um, and then earlier this week, I received a notification. Ooh, whew, that was a good one. Earlier this week, I received notification that they actually reversed their decision and they put the show back up. So now the show, I have not I have the show private right now, but I am going to release the show. Maybe I'll release the show today since I'm talking about it. But I am going to put that show up back up, and literally all it was discussing the theory and thought process behind um, why the government was handling certain things the way they were, how much money is being spent, who is benefiting from it. Um, so anyway, that got reversed. So that was pretty cool. Um, which isn't surprising why the second part happened. So to explain, when you start going through the process of it's called monetization, but it's being accepted into the YouTube partner program. YouTube has a partner program to which they partner with creators to put ads on creators' content in exchange for payments, so to speak. So you have to go through this whole program, and it's a process. So to start with, in order to even be considered for the program, you have to basically meet three criteria. Number one, you have to have at least 1,000 subscribers to your channel. Number two, you have to have 4,000 watch hours. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot when you're somebody like, Mr. Beast or the Nelk Boys or Joe Rogan. It doesn't sound like a lot when you're talking about them because they have, 500,000 people, 400,000 people. I mean, Mr. Beast has 200 plus million people watch a given show. So even if they only watch it for, 1 minute, he's getting more than 4,000 hours off that one show. But to put it in perspective, to get 4,000 hours of watch time, it took me 7 months. It took 7 months of putting shows out consistently, 2, 3, 4 shows a week to build up 4,000 hours of watch time. 4,000 hours of watch time is the equivalent of one person watching your show 24 hours a day for 218 days straight. 24 hours a day for 218 days. So that's a lot of time that has to be spent people watching shows, especially when, you're somebody like me, people may spend, 2 minutes. Some shows, hey, people spend 30 minutes watching the show. Somebody may spend 30 seconds watching it. So it requires a tremendous amount of effort and time to reach 4,000 hours. So that's why they set the mark there. It's a pretty high mark. Um, And then, of course, the other one is that you don't have any community standards violations. Um, so I received this warning. The show is from back in January. I received the warning and they pulled the show back in January. Nothing I could really do about it. But then, come early March, I received notification from Google that I was being considered for the YouTube Partner Program. I received an email from YouTube, from Google, saying I was being considered for the YouTube Partner Program. So you have to go through a process now. One is you have to set up, you have to agree. You have to sign a contract. You have to agree to the partner program. You have to agree to abide by the community standards. Um, and a big part of that is medical misinformation. They don't want you throwing that kind of stuff out there. But of course, you can't say and do things that you're the average advertiser on the channel isn't going to accept. If things like nudity, child pornography, stuff like that, you can't have that on there. That you sign contracts up front for those kinds of things for these channels. And believe me, there's a lot of that out there. There's a lot of people, and it takes forever for Google and YouTube and all these other people to catch that shit. But it's out there and it's fucking horrible. So you have to sign this contract. Then you have to set up what's called an AdSense account. It's basically, if your show ever starts making money, it's a bank account where Google and YouTube will start putting money, whatever revenue you're earning off the show, it goes into this account, and you start. You can transfer it out to however you want to do it. The third thing that is most important is your channel has to go through a review. Now, what that means, I don't know. They don't explain what the review means. They don't tell you what they're doing, how they're going about it. They just tell you that your channel is under review. So, for almost 3 weeks, my channel was under review. It was sitting here with saying review in process or in progress. And they didn't say what that meant. It just kept saying review in progress. Well, I wasn't surprised that they're going through the channel. They're probably running the algorithm on all the shows, making sure everything meets the community standards, making sure everything meets monetization standards, and just going through every single show. And within 2 days of their decision being reversed regarding reinstating that one show, I literally received notification that I was being accepted, that I had been accepted, fully accepted into the YouTube partner program. So that algorithm is a real fucking deal. I know they were going through it. I don't find it coincidence that 2 days after the show, that they reinstated that one show, that the show got accepted into the YouTube partner program. Now, I want to tell people that watch this, that have made it this far, that if you have dreams of coming on YouTube and making money, you need to knock that shit off right now. You need to throw that out your fucking out the window. And what you need to do is you need to consider that you want to put good content out there. For me, it's simply getting on here and talking. For me, it's like a therapy session. I get on here and I talk and I express certain things. I have interviews and I talk to people. That's my format. That's the way I do it. If you're looking to be like Mr. Beast and you're looking to do something along those lines, it's going to take a lot of work. Again, because you're doing it for money. You need to get out and do content for good content. Just do it and enjoy what you're doing. And if you never make any money off of it, so be it. That's the way you need to approach this. Because I will tell you that I feel very fortunate. I know there's a lot of people that have had YouTube channels that they've been doing these things now for a couple of years. Um, and they still don't have the 1,000 subscribers. They still don't have the 4,000 watch hours. And let me back that up. The 4,000 watch hours are in a rolling 12-month period. So you have to continually have 4,000 hours. You have to continually have 4,000 hours of watch time. So luckily for me, I did it within the first 8 months. April, I guess the beginning of April will be 8 months since I started the show in August. August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, yeah, April. August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. Yeah. Anyway, um, 8 months. So I've done it in 8 months. Obviously, I was able to track it that way. I'll tell you, it hadn't been easy. Um, I have had to spend a tremendous amount of my time. It's not like I'm going and making 30-second, 40-second, 10-minute shows. I am sitting down and I'm talking to a camera for, if I'm just doing it myself, I'll do it for an hour. When I do a live, I don't have to do any other production. I just put it out there and it goes. When I do an interview, when I have somebody in my studio, right there, studio, I've had to buy microphones. Um, I'll tell you guys, again, you don't have to start out with anything expensive. I'm just a little different. I'm in a different place in my life. I'm not a kid. I am 40. I'll be 40 on Thursday, um, on the 7th. Um, so I work, and I have, instead of buying a $20 microphone, I decided to buy something that was going to be quality that I knew I would be able to use for the long term. I think about the ROI, the investment, the long term return on it. So I bought, a Shure MV7 microphone versus going out and buying like a $30 microphone, something like that. Which these things are $240, and I have three of them. I have two in the studio. Um, I have these um, the Ultima OC white arms, which you see on a lot of big YouTube channels, um, because they're low profile and the way they work, they just really really cool. But these things are $300 a piece, and I have three of those. And then you have cameras, and then you have lights, and then the studio I built out itself. There is money. There is a tremendous amount of money that has gone into all of this that I have spent over the last, 8 months, just putting things together. So, you don't go into YouTube thinking, oh, I'm going to make a bunch of money, because again, you're spending a shitload of money just buying cameras and recording equipment and things like that, that you have to consider that before you ever make a dime, you've got to pay that stuff off. Now, I did watch Joe Rogan interviewed Mr. Beast, and Mr. Beast did talk about in the very beginning, where he was making like $1 a day, and what he was doing was taking that dollar per day and he would save it, and after a couple months, he'd buy himself a new camera or a new microphone or something like that. Yeah, that's really good. And that's probably what you should expect. Um, but you're not going to come right on to YouTube and start making a bunch of money. I mean, I look at my channel and I'm proud. I mean, god damn, I'm so fucking proud of what this channel has done. I've got roughly 5,000 subscribers. All of my shows get what I consider, if anybody more than my mother watches these shows, like, I'm fucking happy. If it's more than my mother, or more than, some, girl, uh I'm grateful for it. But many of the shows have, I mean, I can look at, I got it up here on my screen. Um, I've got a recent show. Uh, Last week's live has 781 views right now. Um, Show I put up on Tuesday has 1 point, like 1,300 views. So I'm really proud of that. Like I said, if it's got more than one, I'm fucking happy. But to see that any of them get 50 to a couple thousand views, I'm pretty happy with that. Um, that's just, I decided to put out the content I like, rather than putting out a bunch of other crazy stuff. But what I found funny was, so they run it in 48-hour delays. And I'll tell you, YouTube, you guys get on YouTube, they put ads all over the fucking place. They can put it in the beginning of the show, the end of the show. Because I do longer shows, I do shows that are 2 hours. I get a listing of where all of these ads are being placed throughout the show. Um, There's literally, like, in some of these, they're putting ads. They're putting like 10 or 15 ads throughout the show to monetize the content. So you never know. I mean, people obviously have to reach to a certain point, but I'll tell you what's really funny is the first 48, or sorry, the first 24 hours, I made 9 cents. So I thought that was really funny. 9 cents, 9 cents in 24 hours. So again, don't think you're going to come on here and make a shitload of money. The very first, like I said, first 24 hours, I made 9 cents. Um, the AdSense account right now is up to 26 cents. Um, so that means I made 17 cents on day two. I mean, I don't mind doubling if it's going to double every single day. Um, that would be great if it just doubles that way, but I don't, that's not going to happen. It's the same process if you take um, a penny and you take 1 penny and you double it every day. 1 penny day one, 2 pennies day two, 4 pennies day three, 8 pennies day four, 16 pennies day five, so on and so forth. By the end of 30 days, you'll have over $1 million because it starts multiplying so expansively. Um, you know, you get to $100,000. Doesn't take very long to get to $100,000, and then to double that every single day um, puts you pretty high. But anyway, yeah, 9 cents day one, 17 cents day two. I would be more than happy if I made 34 cents or 50 cents on day three. Um, I would be grateful for any of that. Again, I didn't do any of this with the intention of making money. I did it all with the expectation of just getting out and venting and putting shit out there to the world. So that's the monetization and the YouTube partner program things. Yeah, it's funny, but like my number one piece of advice to anybody, I did this in 8 months. There are people that have been out there for 2 years, 3 years doing this. I actually watched a video of a guy, which kind of gave me hope. The guy had been doing it for 2 years. He'd been doing his show for 2 full years. He ended up getting a couple videos that got a lot of viewership that finally got him monetized, got accepted into the partner program. In the first month of his show, he made 800, almost $900 off the ads that YouTube runs. I mean, when you look at it from and you look at it from that perspective, it kind of gives you hope that hey, it's fun. $800 a month isn't gonna. It doesn't buy me a new car. It doesn't pay for doesn't pay my bills at my house or anything like that. But again, if I make 5 cents, if I made 5 cents off of this, I'd still keep doing it. Don't get involved in this because you have the expectation of making money. It costs money to make money. But the reality is you're probably never going to profit off any of this. You're just going to do it for fun. And so start doing it for fun. Don't do it with the expectation of making money because you're just going to drive yourself crazy. And if you make money, great. That if you're doing something good and people are enjoying it and YouTube's able to put ads on it and you're able to get sponsorships and all this other stuff, great. That's awesome. That's fantastic. You should be able to make money off of it. But and I'll be honest, I do hope that the show does make money at this point. I do hope that the show, but believe me, I've got a lot put into this show. It's not like all of a sudden day one, oh my God, I made 9 cents and there's a profit. No, I'm still down several $1,000s. Like I said, if you go into my studio, just in the studio alone, I originally had two other arms. I had gator, I had large gator arms. So I had three of those arms. Those arms were $150 a piece. These microphones, like I said, were $250 a piece. I have two cameras. I have two DSLR cameras. Those things were $800 a piece. I mean, I'm already at $3,000, and then throw in these three arms. These things were $300 a piece. You start throwing all this stuff together. Now I'm at $4,000. Then you put together the wood, like the studio, building out the studio, putting up the wall, the TV, the table, the chairs, all that stuff. That's probably another $4,000 right there. And then my time for doing everything. Plus, other things, I'm probably at about $10,000 in expense of doing this. So, again, over 8-month period, I'm spending, I was, if you break it out, it's about a little over $1,000 a month that I was spending building up the show. So you're not going to start this. So unless I go out and make $10,000 off of the show in a month, or there's still going to be rolling costs. My time, having people. It's not like the show makes money right away. So don't start this because you think you're going to make money. Um. Anyway, I had intended to get on here and kind of rant and ramble about relationships a little bit. Thought that was kind of funny. Some things have occurred over the past few days. I've had some conversations with some friends, and it's weird. So I actually was talking to a particular female recently, and really liked her. Really liked the girl. She's very sweet, very smart, very motivated, very driven. Um, and in my opinion, she was beautiful. She was beautiful. She was sexy. All the things. I always say this. Um, I've said this many, many times. It's so weird. I'm looking at my calluses on my hands. That's how. Hey, that's how you know a man does shit, right? It's not a. That's how you know a man does things. So those kind of calluses, things like that. Um, I've always said that you cannot know a personality from across the room. And what I mean by that is that as human beings, we want to be attracted to somebody or that we're with. We want to be with somebody that we're attracted to. And it starts generally, in most cases, it starts with a physical attraction. Seeing somebody saying, that person is attractive. I like the way he looks. I like the way she looks. I'd like to get to know that person more. You spend more time with somebody that you're attracted to. Then you come to find out that they've got a good personality, that they're funny, that they're a good mother, they're a good father, that they're close to their family. You learn those things, but it starts with the basic instinct of wanting to mate with somebody that you're attracted to. So, I actually, ironically, is this girl. Um, we had never met in person, but we had been friends on Facebook a couple years ago, and she got off social media. I don't know how long ago. Um, and I came across her at I'll just say an establishment. It's not like a strip club or anything like that. I happened across the place she works. Um, nothing, nothing. Yeah, not like it's completely normal profession. Um, I guess strippers are normal nowadays, but it's not that. It wasn't. I just don't want to give away where she works or anything like that. So anyway, I ended up being a patron of an establishment, and she was working there, and I kind of recognized her, but also I just thought she was gorgeous. So um, in my typical kind of weak, non-confrontational kind of approach. Um, she was working. I didn't want to disturb her, so her coworker who was actually helping me, um, I just said, "Hey, here's my phone number. Could you give it to her?" And I was leaving. Um, she got it. Refused to call me because she said a woman doesn't call a man. Totally understood. Well, a week later, I was back there, and I ended up just walking right up to her, and I just said, um, I want I want this. I was making an order. I want this and your phone number. I just kind of decided I was going to be very, very upfront about it. So she came back and gave me she had her phone number written on a piece of paper, gave it to me. And things were great. We were talking and everything was great. And then um basically the demands of her job became overwhelming for her, which I totally get. What a lot of people don't know is that my youngest child's mother, when we started dating, she was working in the bar industry. She was the manager of a large bar in Houston, and the demands on her were very very high. She was luckily she was the manager, so she wasn't opening the place every day, but she often had to go in at like 10 a.m. and then she would work until the bar closed at midnight or 2 in the morning, depending on if it's the weekends. Eventually, she became, with being the manager, she didn't normally have to go in till like 4 p.m. on most days, and then she would work until like, midnight or 2 in the morning, close out, cash out, all that stuff. And so in the beginning, our relationship was literally um, between the hours of like 2 a.m. and 8 a.m. because that's pretty much the only time she wasn't working. Um, and eventually, when she became a manager, we were able to spend more time during the day because she didn't have to go into work till like 4 p.m. So I understood, and it took time, and it I understood the demands and the requirements of a demanding job that requires a lot of you. And so with this particular female, it didn't bother me. I understood it. I had made it clear that I wasn't interested in only having a relationship between the hours of midnight. The place that she works does not stay open until midnight or 2 in the morning. Actually, closes at 9 o'clock at night. But there is still a lot of as a supervisor, as a manager. She's there's a lot of stuff she has to do, and so she typically wouldn't get out of there until actually around 11 o'clock. And so then she would go home and shower and everything, and then come over. Well, it's like midnight, and then she has to get up the next morning, 9 a.m., whatever, and she has to be at work by like 11. So doesn't give a lot of time for doing things. And at my age, being almost 40, I have worked my fucking ass off for 25 years. I have fucking worked. Growing up on a ranch, worked, busted my fucking ass. My dad made me work. When I wasn't skating, I was working. That and when I wasn't in school, I was working. So I have worked my fucking ass off since I was, well, if you go all the way back to the time that we moved out to that ranch, I was 10. So it's 1992. So it's 30 years ago. So I've been working more or less 40 hours a week for 30 years. As I got into my 20s and 30s, those weeks turned into 60 and 80-hour weeks. I work, now fortunately, I'll be honest, I don't work 60, 80 hours a week now. I work 30. I get up early, do most of my shit in the morning, and then I kind of take my time throughout the rest of the day. I think I've earned that after 30 years. Now I manage the company rather than dig the holes. So I put in my fucking time. So I get it. I get what's required for it. But at this point in my life, at being 40, I want somebody that I can do things with. I've had this conversation with somebody before where it says, "Hey, if you're hanging around four millionaires, you're going to be the fifth one." But the same thing applies that if you're hanging out with only single people, you're going to be single. If you're a married individual and only hanging out with single people, you're going to be single. You're going to do things that single people do. Well, I only hang out with married people. All of my friends are married. I am the only single one there. My best friend is married. All of our friends that we do things with are married. Today, we're going over and having a lunch. um, at our friend's house who is married, um, there's probably going to be 9 people there. That means 8 couples and then me, not including any kids that are going to be there. So I only do things with married people, which I'm fine with because I don't need to go. I don't go partying. I don't go drinking and stuff like that. But married couples go do things together. They go to events together. They go to dinners together. They go out of town together. They go on trips. Um, you know, things like that. I want to be able to do those kinds of things with somebody. I want to be able to do that with somebody that I'm attracted to, that I'm in love with, that I have a good time with. I want to be able to go do those things. And at this point in my life, I can do a lot more of them. I can go to concerts. I can afford to go to concerts it's not like I'm going and seeing Bon Jovi in fucking New Jersey, but if there's a $15 concert up the road, I can afford to go do that once a week. So I want to go do stuff, and it's really hard to do that with somebody in those hours. Um and so it's weird, it's hard. You have to consider and factor so many things into a relationship in today's society, and I can't begrudge her one bit. I actually admire her for her work ethic. I admire her for what she is doing, how hard she works. Um, but like I said, you have to it's so weird in today's society that we have to factor so much in. It's not just, hey, are we compatible? Um, do we like spending time with each other? That kind of stuff. Now in today's society, we have to factor so much in because, hey, jobs, because jobs are, I mean, granted, we're in Texas, so if you want to fuck a job, you can have a job, but the kind of job that you want may not be available. Is a job available, but it may not be the job you want. And so if you've got a job you want and a job you enjoy, you got to fucking work to keep that job. And so I get that. It's just that there's so many things that we have to fucking factor in today that we have to consider when you're dating somebody. There's so many other outside elements. And of course, as you get older, there's a lot more there. I mean, I'm 40. I come with a lot of fucking baggage and skeletons and every other goddamn thing out there. I mean, it's a lot. Look, I'm upfront and honest about all this stuff. I've recorded entire shows about it, talked about it. Um, I've been married 4 times. We just call them on the show 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how we refer to them. We don't say their names. Um, number one's a shithead. Number two's a scumbag. Number three's cool. Number four, she don't fucking matter. Don't have a kid with her. Um, just is what it is. I've got 3 kids from 3 separate women. I don't have the best relationships with my kids right now. Um, Very little of that's my fault. I'm upfront and honest about a lot of stuff. Very little of that is my fault right now. Um, number one, number two, um, that has to do with their mother's interference. That's just something I have to work through as a father. Um, and going back to some of that, child support does not entitle you to, or it doesn't mean you get visitation. I've been paid child support. I've paid child. I got a 19-year-old. I got a 19-year-old one that's about to be 14. One that's about turn 9. I've been paying child support on them. Paid off one. I've been paying child support on the other two now for 12 years, and the other one is 8 years, I guess. Um, Number three is different. He's immunocompromised, and in the job that I do, it makes it very hard in today's society. I would never be able to live with myself if I put my son um in a dangerous position. I just wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I did that. So I have voluntarily um, stayed away from him, um, because there's nothing I can do. Um, I'd have to be. I basically have to not do my job for a couple of weeks in order to be able to go around him, um, which sucks. It's hard. This I've never talked about on here. Um, but yeah, because he is immunocompromised, I would have to not do my job for 2 weeks, which means a lot. There's a lot of ramifications from that, and that would affect more than. I mean, that's child support for both my kids. We can start right there. That's paying bills at my house. That's doing things for my employees, running a company. Um, their ability to pay their bills, things like that. If I shut everything down for 2 weeks, that would cause a big problem for everybody. Um, so I have voluntarily kind of stayed back at this point. Um, so it's been kind of rough for the past couple years. That factors a lot into it. And that was kind of off on a tangent there. Um, one of the things one of the things that kind of sucked about um, the woman I was talking to was that we hadn't been able, because of the way timing was, we hadn't been able to actually sit down and have a conversation about who we were as individuals. Like, I mean, we've had superficial conversations, of course. We'd sit and we'd, have like a late night dinner or something like that. And it was just kind of superficial, how was your day? That kind of stuff, kind of the goings on and trappings of the everyday life, rather than getting into detail and knowing somebody. Um, and being a communicator, being a person who likes to talk to people, that was very hard to not know who I was sitting across from. I can look at her and say, "You're beautiful. You're gorgeous. You're all of these things that I want in my life," but I don't know you. Like, I don't know who you are. I don't know. I mean, I've learned two things about her, and because I just sat there and listened, and which is great because I talk a lot, and so I do enjoy listening. So I sat there and listened, and you know, basically just heard her out on 2 different things. But that's such a small part of who she is. Well, one's a very actually a major pretty large part, but we weren't able to, like, get into detail. I'm getting off on a fucking tangent on that, but, um, I hadn't yet talked to her. The point I was making was I hadn't yet gone into the discussion with her that I had been married. I'm not sure if she knows. Like I said, we were friends on Facebook and stuff like that, so a couple years ago. So she may be aware of some of it, but she may not be aware because I never talked about publicly until August of this year. I never talked about publicly that I had been to prison. That was never public. I never talked about that out in the open. I mean, people knew about it, but it's not something I discussed. It's just not something that I brought out. So I'm not sure if she was aware that I was in prison for 4 years. Um, of course, there are questions anybody has about that. I'm more than willing to answer those questions because that could be concerning. Do I believe it should? No. Fuck. I mean, I've been home for 5.5 years now. I literally have, um, I think 6 months left, if that. I have 6 months left on um, parole. Uh, so it really don't fucking matter. But that's a lot. That's a lot that somebody may want to know about. Um, and especially if you're wanting to have that person in your life, we should be willing to be open and honest and have that discussion about these things. And then of course the past with the kids and stuff like that. So the point I was making with all this is that, when we were young, hey, a relationship was, hey, you're hot. Oh, you think I'm attractive? Cool. Like, let's get into a relationship. Now in today's society, we come along with all of this other fucking information. We come along with all these other things, these other factors, and um, me personally, I try to simplify it. I try not to muddy the waters and make it super fucking difficult because then I'll just, I'll be single forever. And I don't want to be single. I want to be in a relationship with somebody. I want to do stuff with my friends and my family with a partner, with someone, with a woman that I love, that I'm in love with. But it's hard with all the craziness in the fucking world, dealing with all and me bringing all the fucking baggage that I bring. I come with a lot. I know. So, but anyway, guys, I'm gonna call it quits. I'm actually gonna go get something to eat. The boy loves to eat. Um, gonna go hang out with some friends today. We're gonna go swimming, smoke a hookah, have a good Sunday, good, nice, relaxing Sunday. Um, got some great shows coming out this week. Um, have a show on Tuesday. Gonna have a show coming up with Quentin Wilsford. Um, that'll be on Tuesday. Release a show on Friday with Justin Whitfield, the owner of the Wildcatter Saloon. Some really cool stories there. Had a really cool um, interview discussion with him. Wasn't super long, about 35 minutes long, but a lot of really good shit there. And then I've got some great interviews and shows coming up in the coming weeks for that'll be getting released. This Thursday is my birthday, so there's gonna be some content made from that. We're gonna go golfing, and there's no doubt going to be some content made there. Um, I think last year or two, yeah, I don't know if it was last year or the year before. We did. I think it was my birthday. Might have been my birthday or somebody else's birthday. We went golfing for. Um, I think it was mine. I ended up in the water um, without my clothes on because someone threw my fucking ball in the water, and I had not yet lost a ball. And I was gonna refuse to lose a ball to this point. I didn't want to. Um, I didn't want that on my record for the day. So I took my clothes off and I went in fucking water and I hit the ball out of the water. So good chance, shit like that's gonna happen. Fred and I had an idea last night about doing something. I think we're gonna make that come to fruition. We're gonna have fun there. So that'll happen probably Thursday. We're gonna go golfing Thursday and then again on Saturday. So anyway, guys, thank you. If y'all have made it to this point, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Like I said, it's always cool. I fucking split open my head yesterday and I posted a picture of it, as people do, put on social media. And I've probably had about 75 people um reach out and be like, "Are you okay? What happened?" Um, of course, my mom, I didn't call my mom and tell her about it. She saw it on the internet just like everybody else. And she immediately, I knew when she called me, in the middle of the day. She never calls me in the middle of the day for anything. She called me in the middle of the day. And as soon as she picked up the phone, or as soon as I picked up the phone, I didn't even say, "Hi, mom." I just said, "I'm fine. I'm okay." It's not a big deal, but I probably could have used a couple stitches. Um, wouldn't it probably could use a couple stitches, but hey, fuck it, chicks dig scars. I don't give a fuck. I got shit like that everywhere. I've got big X on my forehead right here from where I did an Evil Knievel onto a 400-pound rock. That same cabin that I grew up, that my parents owned up in the mountains in Arizona. Had my big wheel and I was fucking cranking back and forth on the patio. It was like da 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 back and forth on this huge fucking patio, this deck, and on the side of the house. And the stairs hadn't been built on the back end of the house. And I'm literally in my He-Man underwear. They were white with red bands. I can remember them to this day. White, and they had He-Man all over them, and they had red bands on the top and red bands around the legs and riding my fucking big wheel back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I'm 2 years old. Um, and or 3 years old, and I decided I was going to pop a wheelie off the end of the fucking patio, off the end of the deck, and the stairs hadn't been built yet, and there was a rock there, and I went off and then flipped and went straight down, and my fucking head went straight into the rock. I landed head first on the rock. Um, Maybe that's what's wrong with me. Maybe it's not the drugs my mom did when she was pregnant with me. Maybe it's my fucking head has hit so many hard surfaces. Um, so anyway, did that one there. That's a big X because it split me open pretty fucking good. Huge X that's in the middle of my forehead there. Um, got another one that's over here. Wait, yeah, I've got one here from flipping a skateboard into my forehead when I was 8. Um, that was kind of dumb. Literally, when you're, even if you didn't skateboard, if you had a skateboard, like the cool thing was to fucking flip it, hit the end of it. Well, I skateboarded. We had a ramp um, in the woods. Some kids had built a ramp in the woods, and I'd go back there and actually skateboard. I could do that shit when I was a kid. So anyway, just I was in my driveway of all places. Didn't have my helmet on, none of that stuff, and I just kicked the end of the skateboard to flip it up to catch it, and my head went down apparently when I did it, and I kicked the fucking skateboard right into my forehead. So got me there. And then here on this side, I fell. I was actually pushed down skating at the national championships, and I wore used to wear glasses. And the nose piece from the glasses, when the glasses they came off my head, they came up, and the nose piece stuck into my forehead, and I actually had to pull it out. So, um, so probably could use a couple stitches. It's pretty tender. I hit it this morning on accident when I went to go comb my hair. If you can tell, I don't comb it a whole fucking lot. I don't comb my fucking hair a whole lot because there's so much fucking hair. But I went to comb my hair this morning and I hit it with my hand. The hat sitting right on it. I hit it with my hand and it started bleeding a little bit. So, like I said, probably could have used some stitches, but fuck it. Chicks dig scars. So, anyway, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you for everybody. I literally, since I've been sitting here, I'm going to tell you right now, since I've been sitting here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I have 14 messages from 14 separate people just in the last hour asking me what happened to my fucking forehead. So I really I don't know how like I appreciate the fact that people even care. Like I said, doing this, like I appreciate it if more than my mother watches it. Like I appreciate my mom watching it. That's totally cool. But like I appreciate if more than one person does. The fact that 14 people in the last hour have messaged me to ask what the fuck I did to my forehead and if I'm okay. That's that's humbling. That's pretty nice. That means that, people actually in contrast to how I've felt as a person, the kind of person I felt I have been in my life, which I don't think I've always been a very good person. The fact that 14 people at this stage of my life in the last hour have reached out um, makes me feel pretty good about the kind of person I've become over the past, we'll say 5 years, 6 years. So that's a lot, and I appreciate it. So that's why I constantly say it. Thank you guys. Thank you for everybody. Thank you for all the comments and reaching out and checking on me. I appreciate it. And that's it, guys. I'll talk to y'all very, very soon. I'll look for the shows on Monday or sorry, Tuesday. I will relaunch the other show. It'll go back live. Um, the episode number 14. I'll actually put that up. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys very, very soon. Bye.